And what's up, comic fans? What's up, everybody? You are back with Comic Book Weekly, and I am Brant Fowler, filling in the role of Mike Spider Slayer, who unfortunately could not be with us this week. He is recovering from a medical procedure. He's fine. He should be back next week, so we miss him. And also not with us tonight is Chris, Dark Avenger C86. He's got some stuff going on tomorrow and couldn't quite make the show tonight. So hopefully next week we'll have the full cast back. But who I do have with me is the incomparable Kat Kamakudo.
How's it going, guys? I am excited to be on, and we have so much to talk about.
Yeah, it's going to be a big show. But before we get into that, we actually have to thank our sponsor for this week. And today's episode is brought to you by the Geek History Lesson podcast, educating you about the fictional history of pop culture character each and every week. And we will be talking more about Geek History Lesson. That's not going to work. I'll do a different screenshot later, but yeah, we'll be talking more about Geek History Lesson later in the show, so stay tuned for that. But for now, we got to get into some news because we got a lot to cover.
We have a ton to cover. So let's first see the highs. We got David Berg who says hi. We got Paul who changes it up and says howdy. And then, of course, Mike Manhattan in the comments as well. So we are going to get started and talk about some media news first. We had the MODOK trailer that came out. That was different.
Yeah, it is different. It looked fun, though. It looked more appealing than the What The stuff that they had done previously. So
I'll agree with that. I don't know if it's my bad. We'll have to see. It's very robot chicken animation.
Yeah,
but it didn't look bad. It had like a heartbeat. It had to do with families. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah, that's a different take on MODOK. I kind of appreciated that, and the voice acting's good. It's solid, so.
And then also, I do not watch this, so you'll have to catch us up on this, Brant. But Captain America 4 is officially in works and has to do with Winter Soldier and Falcon. A moment that happened in the show, I know, but I was spoiled. I think it was hard not to be spoiled for that. But we are getting Captain America 4. So what are your thoughts? I know some people were disappointed with the finale.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know that I was disappointed with the finale. I thought it was going to be double size, which it wasn't. So I was a little surprised by that. I thought there was going to be a little bit more, and I was expecting a few more surprises. But I thought it was a nice end if they're leading into something else, right? So if they, obviously they're talking Captain America 4, so it was a great lead into that. And as a whole, I think the show was really fun. I don't want to spoil it too much for anybody that hasn't seen it, including you, Kat. But I had a lot of fun with this show, and I think they did justice to Sam Wilson in that last episode. So
that I definitely heard, and the new costume, we'll say, looked very cool.
Yeah, I do think it was a little padded because he's not quite as big as Steve Rogers was, but it looked a little padded, but it looked good on him. So it's going to be fun to see a different take on Captain America going forward.
Twitch says the finale set up a lot going forward.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it actually got a rotten on Rotten Tomatoes. That's the only reason I said that. Like, really? Some people were disappointed. Yeah, it was like the first one, I think, for the obviously Disney Plus Marvel stuff.
I bet they were just like the end of WandaVision. They're probably expecting some big reveal or some big character or something, and we didn't really get that. So, rumors kind of kill everything because there was rumors going into both of those shows that you're going to get some big major thing at the end, and
I don't expect that with the shows. I just expect a nice character journey, and I'm excited to binge it. I'm very excited to see, is it Sharon Carter or Shannon? Sharon, right? Yeah, Sharon Carter. I'm excited to see her character.
You're going to appreciate that last episode for her. There's a twist I didn't see coming. And
I heard the twist as well, sadly.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So that it's kind of, okay. She's finally becoming, a solid character in the MCU, which I appreciate because I love the actress. I loved Revenge just like you did. And I was really sad how little we saw her in the movies. So, yeah.
Like I said, I'm excited to see where they take it with the movies. So we will see with that. We also have some news that both me and Brant are excited to discuss, which is the Paper Girls cast has been announced, which we have, I'm not going to name all of them because they're actually not that well-known actresses. I don't know if there's actually a point, but there are 4 young girls who look a lot like the characters from the comic. And honestly, what was more interesting from that news piece was the descriptions of the girls. It looks like they're digging a lot deeper into the 1980s version of them, because that was something in Paper Girls, is that they, left the 1980s after the first arc, and you didn't really know much about their family besides that they had a sibling, or you didn't know much about their parents. But it looks like they're going to dig a lot deeper into that aspect, which if you are a fan of the Runaways TV show, like both me and Brant are, we both love the Runaways comic, but what the show did a great job at is dealing with the parents and dealing with their relationship with the kids that Brian K. Vaughan didn't do with the comic. And I have a feeling that's what Paper Girls is going to do as well, is just flesh out the background of the characters as we get into their journey.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's the benefit of going to a different medium like that, because in the comics, you have to grab people right away. So you got to dive into that story, right? The plot of the story and take people on that ride. And you don't always have time to kind of decompress and flesh out those other characters and background characters and stuff like that. So I think Runaways did a good job of that with the family too. And I'm excited to see more of their life in the 80s before they go on that crazy ride that they did. So
Tevye said this better not be a CW show. Well, what's nice about this is actually, and also something I think we should mention, is that these are young girls. Like they are not teenagers. They are like preteens, which is going to be really interesting. I have not seen like something that other than like a Disney Channel show that focuses on 4 really, really young girls as the leads of the show.
Yeah. Disney and Nickelodeon, mostly Disney, I think does it a couple, and even rarely there, it's usually a little bit older. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, especially how heavy that story gets with younger kids. And I'm curious to see how they handle it.
They have to be really good actors. I'm gonna say that really too to hold this show. But yeah, I'm super excited for. I mean, I've not been this excited for a show in a really, really long time. So I will be. I don't, as you know, sometimes I binge watch and I wait for stuff. Paper Girls will not be that show. I will be watching that day of it comes out.
Right.
I am very excited. So that's all the actual media news. Yeah. A lot of people, Tevye is like, I hope it's not like Powerpuff Girls. First of all, we're both really excited for Powerpuff Girls, and also they're 2 different networks. This is Amazon Prime. If you like Invincible, you like The Boys, stuff like that.
Come on. Amazon Prime, yeah, man, they've really stepped up their game in the past few years. They've got some really good content on that platform. So yeah, I'm excited.
So let's get into the comic news, because there's also a lot of comic news here. I'm actually going to have to highlight some of these so I know what we've talked about. So first, let's talk about Emilia Clarke is making a comic book with Marguerite Bennett. And I believe this is Image Comics.
Yes.
The book actually sounds really cool. It's like a single mom story. And it's interesting to see a lot of these actors get in the comics now. You have Keanu Reeves and now you have Emilia Clarke. But what's cool is that they're teaming up with, comic book writers to tell these stories.
Right. Yeah. And I'm a big fan of Emilia Clarke. I'm a Game of Thrones fan, and I love her acting. And I'm excited for this. I love that too. Like there's a former women's wrestler, AJ Lee, who's a comic writer, and she's writing a lot of stuff now. So I love seeing that when they're passionate about the medium, and like you said, they can team up with comic veterans that know what they're doing and, can kind of help them navigate the world of comic storytelling. So I'm excited for the book. And also Emilia Clarke was added to Marvel's Secret Invasion.
I forgot. Yeah, we didn't talk about that last week. That was cool as well. All these Disney Plus shows are exciting, but obviously it seems like she has some sort of comic fandom if she wants to do all this, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So
I'm curious how involved she will be in that comic. Because I never like even Keanu Reeves. How much did he write that comic? I'm curious about like the process of that.
Yeah, I don't know. The way I found out about it was I think it was on Instagram. I saw one of her. She posted a post or a story or something and was talking about it, and it was the day they were revealing the cover. And I was like, oh wow! So she was like pumped up and really excited about it. So that gives me kind of hope that she's more involved. So
And again, the comic looks like cool. Even if I
Yeah.
was, even if it wasn't an actress, the art looks really good. Like the concept looks really good. So I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
So going into the next thing, which is, let's see, because there's so many big news pieces.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Shazam getting a miniseries spinning out of the Teen Titans Academy. This was interesting, because we just had a Shazam book and now we're getting another one. But B, you don't have the Shazam family. It's just him.
Yeah.
Which I don't know how to feel about. And we all didn't love issue 1 of Teen Titans Academy, so I'm just like a little lukewarm on all of this.
My only thought process going into this, and I just skimmed this article, so I don't know if they gave any more details in this, but like we're obviously picking up some threads that were planted in a future state. So if that's where this is headed to, him separating and all that kind of stuff, I don't know that I'm so excited about it because, ultimately that's a very bad place that Billy is going to. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens. I just hope whatever the series is, that it's consistently solid and it's not like. So there were ups and downs with the last series, and I think we all eventually fell off of it.
I think I read all of it, but I definitely did not get it all physically. I think I got the last couple digitally.
Yeah, with me, I think I read it all, but I think I took a break and then had to catch up 3 or 4 issues and kind of did that thing because I got burnt out on it. And it was a short series, but it was very delayed, COVID and everything. So yeah, I just hope it's good because I want to have a good Shazam comic. I like Shazam. And I want to read it, so make it good. That's all I ask.
I agree. I'll definitely pick up the first issue to see what it's all about, but I can't promise I'll get all of it depending on, what the book's going to be about. All right, moving on to Brian Azzarello's Suicide Squad Black Label book coming out. My only thought is that there's a lot of Suicide Squad, and I don't know if I need more. I don't know if I'll get this.
My only positive about that, and I'm not a Brian Azzarello fan, so I'm probably not going to get this. My only positive about this is with a big property like that, when you have a movie coming out and everything, you're giving all different kinds of audiences a version of Suicide Squad that they might like, which is cool, I guess. So
question mark.
Yeah, I mean, it's always when you have a big franchise like that, they tend to oversaturate. So, but as long as they're spreading it out to, okay, this is for this group of fans, this is for that group of fans, I'm a little more okay with it.
So going into the new Action Comics logo. So it's been a while and we got a new logo, and our logo king here, Brant's going to let us know if it's a good logo or not.
I mean, it makes sense. Action Comics logo has not been updated for quite some time, and it's very similar to the. I'm going to try to screen share it here. It's very similar to the classic one. So let me get that up right here. There we go. Yeah, so it's very similar. They just made it swoopier. Basically, it's more. It reminds me of the Aquaman logo, honestly.
It honestly looks a little bit more sci-fi too.
Yeah,
which is interesting.
I can totally see that. But you see, they kept the C the same. It's the same font basically. It's just more slanted, and then it was really the A and the swoop, the underline going under it that they focused on, and kind of gave it a modern twist of a classic. I think as far as re-envisioning a logo, this is a good version.
Yeah, I agree. So moving on to DC's new horror imprint, and this is actually related to Warner Brothers because they're going to be releasing books related to some of their horror movies like The Conjuring 3. I've never seen The Conjuring, but I think it's interesting to see, once again, all the Fortnite stuff, anything that could get another audience in the comics, I think is great.
Yeah, and at first I was dismissive of this one because I'm not a big horror fan, but then I saw The Conjuring and I was like, oh, I actually like The Conjuring. I've seen Conjuring 1 and 2. So I'm a fan of the franchise. I like what they do with those movies. So I'm kind of excited about this now. That we're actually getting a comic version to lead into the third movie. So yeah, I'm down for that.
So Brant might actually get a horror comic.
Yeah. Who'd have thought?
Who would have thought? So next up is that Masters of the Universe, the Netflix show's getting a Dark Horse comic book by Kevin Smith, which is pretty cool. I hope that brings people to get that comic. I feel like Dark Horse hasn't had like a big announcement like that in a while, so that's nice.
Yeah, for sure. Bring and put a name like Kevin Smith on He-Man. I mean, it's like two huge things right there. So how can you lose with that? But the art looks really interesting for this. It looks different than anything we've seen before. As you know, as far as the covers go, I don't know if it's the same interior artist or not, but I think that's really cool. And I didn't even know that Dark Horse was like involved with He-Man at all. So that's kind of neat. To see it from a different publisher, different perspective, different writer. And so if you're a Masters of the Universe fan, that's cool news for you. And I am. I grew up with that. So
I know there's a lot of like Netflix stuff coming out because you had the anime and like something else too. So we obviously had She-Ra and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah. So it's they're making a go of all of that. It's 80s nostalgia, right?
Definitely 80s nostalgia right there. Moving on to the Pride comic, we got a little bit more information. First, we got a border for the Pride comic with Julie Power on the side, which I was happy. The one thing I do have to complain about one thing for a second, then we'll go to the main topic. Kitty Pryde, they really just don't want to confirm that she's bisexual. She's not seen at all in these Pride covers. And it's like, even though they've like pretty much confirmed that she's bi, they're like, we won't put her on the cover.
That is a little odd because they pretty much confirmed it in Marauders for sure. If nowhere else, for sure in there, right? So
I don't get why they're so wishy-washy with her bisexuality. Yeah. I really don't get it.
I don't either. I consider it canon at this point, so it's like, why don't they? There's the cover that you're talking about with the
with no Kitty Pryde.
Yeah, no Kitty Pryde, but a lot more characters than I realized, honestly. So
that's cool. Honestly, same too. Like I didn't know the Ant-Man was a queer character. I didn't know. I think that was really the only one that was a surprise to me. There's some other characters like, oh yeah, I remember her or I remember them.
I think I did know that. I think there was reference to his boyfriend or husband, one of the two, in one of the series. I don't remember which or where, but I do kind of remember that. But yeah, it's really cool. It's a nice banner. It's like a classic Marvel kind of thing they used to do.
Yeah, I'm excited for that cover. I'm going to get every single cover for that. What the news piece was, though, is that there's going to be a new queer character introduced in that comic. So hopefully it'll be a spec book for people that might not tried it out and, be worth something even more to collectors. It's already worth something to me, but and I'm sure for other readers as well. But, maybe it'll go higher in price in the market, which would be kind of cool if it does.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really cool. I'm always excited when they bring new characters, and especially an LGBTQ character into the Marvel universe. It's going to kind of, I guess, get a spotlight in this because they're making a news article about it, so obviously they'll have an important role in this book. So.
And hopefully it's not just a one-hit wonder of they just show up here and they don't show up in another comic. Right. Why do we need spec books? I don't think there's a need for spec books. It's just like a thing. Like there's no, like, it's not like companies making spec books. Spec books are collectors make spec books. It just means that they didn't print enough or they, it's just like people want that book. That's pretty much all it means. It's like, I don't think there's a great. Yeah. Because you never know if they'll make a movie or a TV show or it'll be the next Walking Dead. So it's more of a collecting thing than anything. It's not a, Marvel doesn't say this is going to be a spec book. They might have a thought it will be like Punchline and stuff like that. But you never know if it's going to be like, Miracle Molly, I don't think hit as much as like Punchline. But you never know if you'll have the next Punchline or next Spider-Gwen.
Yeah, it's kind of like when we used to call our most anticipated key issues. It was kind of our way of saying, okay, this might be something, and it kind of devolved into this is just what we're looking forward to. But it's that kind of thing. It's like you try to get these characters and books and issues that you're excited about, and maybe there'll be something like that. So,
Comics Fan Fun says calling her bi seems to be on the nose with her name. Honestly, I never really put Pride. Yeah, I
Oh
didn't.
wow, I didn't
Never put. I never put two
Wow.
and two together. That is horrible on our part.
Yeah.
I'm always been a pioneer for bisexual storylines, but never put Kitty Pryde together. She should be prideful of her bisexuality, and Marvel should be too. I'm hoping like that's the surprise. Like maybe they're like trying to keep something from us in that book, and we'll like get a big thing in there, or maybe like the gala. Maybe that they're gonna do something there.
Oh, yeah.
Like I'm hoping that's the reason why. I have way too much hope. They're just faking it, but that's my glimmer of hope. All right, moving on. I know this is our topic, but the other three are kind of like bigger topics. So we're going to talk about the topic of our show, which is that Thor versus Captain America in a new Thor arc. So it's interesting. What is interesting about this is that a lot of the upcoming stories are Avengers versus somebody else, because we just had the Free Comic Book Day that Hulk is going to be versing everybody else. So what do you think about that?
You know, it's kind of hard because we didn't get a lot of information as to why they're fighting in this article. So it's just like, oh, Thor's going to fight Captain America at some point during this whole thing. So it's always kind of I don't know. It's kind of touchy whether you can get excited about heroes fighting heroes. It always happens. It's inevitable, but we've seen it so many times. It's like, what is there in there? But given that it's Donny Cates' Thor series, that has me excited because he's done such a great job with Thor and his whole supporting cast. And now you're bringing in the Avengers side of it that we haven't really seen in the book yet. And obviously they're going to be at odds. Thor's probably going to make some kind of decision that Cap's not cool with, and that's going to lead to this battle. So I'm just wondering what the implications of it are going forward. Is this like just a one-off kind of thing? They just disagree, or is this like a bigger thing that's going to blow up into like an event or something?
The next Civil War.
Yeah.
That'd be cool because we've never really seen Thor versus Captain America.
Yeah.
At least from what I could think of. Just the movies always kind of like teased it in like a fun way,
Yeah, like he almost picked up the hammer in Avengers and that kind of thing. So it's definitely going to be interesting seeing Mjolnir up against the Shield, and is it going to be like Asgard versus the Avengers? Is that where we're headed? Is it the new X-Men? Cool. Yeah, so that would be cool. It'd be very interesting to see where loyalties lie and all that.
Especially, and we'll obviously talk about Valkyries later, but Jane is like kind of living both worlds, right? Like she's from Earth, but she's also like an honorary Asgardian. So that'd be kind of a cool story for her as well.
Yeah, for sure.
See, we're writing something that probably doesn't exist, but that sounds cool. Like I want to see that event now.
Yeah, let's do it.
So, I love, and honestly, the artwork was so cool for that cover as well, which is our thumbnail. And I've been enjoying Thor. It's been a cool book. So moving on to some Spider-Man news, and Mike did discuss this on a video for him, because I was going to say it's a shame that Mike wasn't on, but you could get his opinion there. But Sinister Six is returning. There's another Sinister Six with Vulture. They're called something else. And it's an event, of course. It's a Sinister event. And we'll talk about Amazing Spider-Man this week. That I already know Brant's opinion a little bit. It's his continuous opinion on this arc, which is good. Someone's enjoying it. But we did have the last bit that Dr. Octopus is back. And I don't know how to feel. I think it's cool that there's a classic, because I think it's cool that we're having classic Sinister Six, Vulture, Dr. Octopus. But there's so many balls being thrown in the air. Like, can we finish one before we get to this? It's just too much for me. And I'm just like, I don't know if I can care yet.
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. And funny enough, this was the one part of this issue of Spider-Man that I was not a fan of.
That's the one part I did like.
I know. I'm so sick of Dr. Octopus. I don't want to see more Dr. Octopus. We've had him for years, right? At the forefront. And now it's classic. And it's another example, that they're stuck in the past with Spider-Man right now, pulling all these, older villains out. And I don't know. I'm kind of exhausted from it. And I kind of want to move into something new. It's always cool when you see the Sinister Six back together and and that kind of thing. But I don't know. I'm not excited about it yet. Hopefully, I will be.
Me either. Tevye says, all I want to see is Peter Parker and Mary Jane get remarried. Don't we all? That's not, it goes back to the teasing, right? They're straight teasing us. And usually I get queer baited by Kitty Pryde, but they're straight teasing Mary Jane and Peter Parker.
I mean, they even threw Mephisto back in there, and then it's like, oh, where'd Mephisto go? He was there. We were going somewhere, and now it's just gone. Okay.
That's the thing. No story that has begun in this book has finished. And that blows my mind. It's been 60-something issues, and I really can't think of one story that has wrapped.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's absolutely true. And that's, Even
Mary Jane, when she left, like, technically she's back, but her story never ended in that other book. It just never came back.
That's true, yeah. It's, man, when you think about it like that, 64 issues in, and, you got so many, like you said, balls up in the air. It's just...
And some are easy, like the Robbie's son, like that would have been an easy one to finish, like in issue 10. Boomerang, I think, would have also been an easy one to finish early on, and we're still going on with these storylines.
Yeah, and I think that's why I'm enjoying this current arc, though, is because it does tie back into that first the beginning of it, which I agree they could have wrapped this up a lot sooner, not dragged it out, but I at least like that I'm getting that story again, which is what I enjoyed about his run to begin with. So,
yeah, honestly, it's like too little, too late for me. That's where I'm kind of at. I'm like, maybe that happened 40 issues ago would have been fine.
Yeah.
So that is the Spider-Man news. Now we're going to go into Justice League Unlimited is returning by the writers of the TV show. So 2 of the writers. And, this is hard because I was so excited for Batman the Anime series. I don't know if I'm even going to pick up the sequel. And I'm just like, I like Batman the Anime series more than Justice League Unlimited. So is it going to be like the same 2-dimensional thing?
Yeah, that's my concern too. I was equally excited about the Batman the Animated Series, and that comic just did not give me the same vibe as the show. And that's my fear here, that this is going to be the same. But hopefully we're wrong, and hopefully it's more reminiscent of the show. Maybe even there's a world where it's better than the show. That would be cool. So.
That'd be a weird world, yeah.
Yeah, that's a big order, tall order for that team. But yeah, I just hope it's good. I'll try it.
Yeah, I'll try the first issue out, and I might even try the sequel for Batman. It'll just all depend.
I won't.
That's probably better off. I think I'm doing myself a disservice by trying it out. It depends who shows up. Like if Stephanie shows up, give me that issue. Even then?
No, I didn't even finish it. So, it's like, it was tempting, like, Jason Todd's in there, but it's like, I just really don't like it. So
it was really slow. There was maybe one good issue in there, and that was like when they retold Jason Todd's origins. I'm like, oh, that was cool, and then it never got better.
Yeah.
So moving on to the last thing, the big news piece for the week, which is Superman's being relaunched, and Tom Taylor's writing it, and it's going to be a new star, which is John Kent. And this is interesting because this is the first time in a long time that Action Comics and Superman's not being written by the same writer. So that's cool. And also a different lead, which is John. I have my thoughts on John, but I want to hear Brant first. What do you think? Tom Taylor, John?
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame Chris is not here, being the biggest Superman fan of us all for this discussion, but it's kind of a two-edged sword. You're really excited that Tom Taylor is on Superman, right? But it's not Superman, it's John. So it's like, it dulls it a little bit, but at the same time, I'm still excited to see Tom Taylor's take on the Superman family in their own title and everything. So I'm still excited for it. I'm not totally excited about John being the lead and taking over as Superman, especially from what we saw in Future State.
That was what I was going to say. Like, what we know is going to happen with him does not excite me.
Right. Yeah. And I don't think I even picked up that second issue of that one.
Well, not even, and also Infinite Frontier as well teased that he's going to be a villain and that he's not going to be a good guy. And like, do I even want to see that? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't. And so, if it's going to continue that track, in which we've seen, seeds in other books, that is kind of where they're headed with things, is future state. If that's the direction they're headed, then I'm not excited about that. I love Tom Taylor's storytelling, but I haven't loved everything he's written. So,
Even the
we'll
detective,
see.
the Batman the Detective, I really wasn't a fan of. I didn't really love his friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. So yeah,
Right.
no, I agree. But then Seven Secrets is the best, and then Injustice was great, and there's more good from Tom Taylor than bad. But yeah, not
Absolutely.
everything's perfect. And going into a character I really don't like. I just don't like John Kent. I think he's just so generic. He's just one of the most generic characters out there, and it's like low bearing fruit. Like they did everything what you think you would want from a Superman son or a Superman child, and did nothing interesting with him.
Yeah. So now they're going the other way. It's like, okay, we'll make him a bad guy. See if you like that.
And it's so interesting because I think we already had the super son that was interesting, which was Connor because he was the son of Superman, but he wasn't really the son of Superman. He was also the son of Lex Luthor, and that's such an interesting story. And obviously, the people he interacted with was really interesting. But with John, he's interacting with everybody, and they don't make him stick there. He's like, oh, he was in Legion of Superheroes. He's with Damian for a little while. He was with Teen Titans for a second. It's like pick your crew, or they just don't know what to do with this character.
Right. Yeah. And that's very obvious, from all those things you just said. So the only thing I could find interesting about that turn is, if Damian confronts him and Damian actually becomes the positive influence and the good guy. And there could be some interesting storytelling there, but, I'm speculating. So,
and that's so interesting with Damian because he's also like the complete opposite of his father, and that's like what made him interesting. And what made Damian interesting as a character wasn't when he was first introduced, is when he started teaming up with Dick Grayson, or when he started teaming up with Stephanie Brown, or he started teaming up with people like John. Even for people that did like him, it's just like because that was such a conflict, it made Damian a better character than it did make John a better character. Because in all those scenarios, I don't think Stephanie became a better character because she was hanging out with Damian.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah. So I guess we'll wait and see. Yeah, go ahead. That's all I was going to say.
We also got a question from Tevia. What about Deceased? I actually didn't like Deceased.
No.
I think Mike was the only one who liked it. He didn't love Deceased, but he enjoyed Deceased.
I read one issue. That's all I need to say. Yeah.
I read the first one. I was like, oh, it was okay. Like it was fine. It wasn't Injustice for me. And then I read the second volume and I did drop it because I didn't love the art. I think that was actually a big thing.
It just wasn't my thing. That's all there was to it with that one. So,
and I know a lot of people love that. They enjoy that book a lot. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that was all the news. So we are going to go into our sponsor. But right before that, we, obviously rate us on iTunes. If you do give us a 5-star review, then you will have your review read on the show.
Yeah. And we also have our Kickstarter shout out to Sinner this week for supporting the Kickstarter. So thank you. All right. So let me pull this up here now. Maybe this will work better. There we go. Well, let me maximize that. Well, no, I can't maximize it. I'll put it over here because I got to read the copy on this screen. Yes, so today's episode, again, brought to you by the Geek History Lesson podcast. If you love learning all the fascinating facts and histories from comic, film, and TV franchises, then keep listening. Geek History Lesson is a weekly podcast hosted by Ringo-nominated comic writers Jason Inman and Ashley Victoria Robinson. Each episode includes deep dives into character histories, stimulating discussions, and character impressions. And for all you MCU fans that actually did watch Falcon and Winter Soldier, want to know the first appearance of Sam Wilson the Falcon? Learn about Aquaman's original superpowers or discover that Baron Zemo's greatest supervillain scheme is bad publicity? The Geek History Lesson podcast will educate your geeky mind. New episodes of Geek History Lesson drop every Tuesday morning, and check out any of the 364 past episodes, including guests like Tom King, Christopher Cantwell, and Kelly Thompson, who we're all fans of at this show. Enter a Mind University and listen to Geek History Lesson on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever podcasts go on your ear holes. Learn more about the show at geekhistorylesson.com or at GHL Podcast on Twitter. So there you go. Thank you for sponsoring the show. And that makes for a very full Tuesday. You can go listen to Geek History Lesson Tuesday morning. Come back, watch us live on Tuesday nights, and make a full comic day for you on your Tuesdays.
That is awesome. And we are actually going to jump into our Under the Radar books.
Let's do it. All right. So Under the Radar. These are books we talk about where they might just fall under your radar, as Chris normally says. So I will start actually with Stray Dogs number 3. I love this book. Mike and I are big fans of this book, and I got to give a shout out to Mike. Anybody on his channel already knows this probably, but his dog Cookie did make it into the back of the book this issue. So congrats for Cookie making it. I forgot to send Trixie in, so hopefully I'll get Trixie in a future issue. But this book is just so much fun. It's Disney animation style with a murder mystery surrounding it, and now they found graves under the porch. So now they're all freaking out. What's going on? And we get left with a cliffhanger as one of the dogs gets taken behind the shed. And it doesn't look good. So if you want some kind of dark twist on a Disney animated movie, this is the book for you. Definitely check it out. So that's Stray Dogs. And so, Kat, what is your Under the Radar?
Mine was Spider-Woman, issue 11. This really got back to the groove where we get to see literally Jessica just trying to get back to normal. And she's hanging out with Roger. Roger just wants to, have a date. And, Jessica's Jessica. She's going to be Spider-Woman. And in the end of the issue, we find out that Roger actually wanted to propose to Spider-Woman. And it's just a really fun issue. After having a very anguished arc, it was cool to kind of go back to basics, but still have that drama. And I love seeing Roger. I really enjoyed him in the previous run. So to see him involved here and have a big part definitely was nice. And I thought it was a very solid issue. Yeah,
and it's so fun how he keeps trying to be both trying to propose like all night long and also trying to be useful to her. And every time he thinks, she's seeing his value, she just she's there for another reason. And it's got to be hard being in Roger's shoes, but at the same time, he's smitten, he's in love with her. So yeah, it was very, very fun, touching issue. And at the same time, like you said, it infused all that energy, all that, fun that back into her after that heavy arc that we just came off of. And the art was gorgeous in this book too. There was some really nice panels in this book, coming out of the costume shop. And just like when she comes home and she's eating the Chinese food, it was just the figure work in this book is just phenomenal. So
yeah, really even that cliffhanger. I love Roger's face.
Yeah, just like, oh man.
Yeah. I thought that was so well angled, so well. It was just so well drawn. It's a good book, guys, and this is a really good jumping on point. So if you haven't been reading Spider-Woman, this is the best way to pick it up.
Absolutely. All right, so that's all our Under the Radar. So it's time to get into some big books in top 5.
Yes, so I am taking Mike's chair here and doing big books. So first up, we're going to talk about the biggest book of the week that I think me and Brant and Mike would have had a lot to talk about because we actually did talk about it on our group chat before the show, and that is Way of X issue 1. So this is a new X-Men book. What do you think about it? You gonna? I would say you're going to continue, but we have the chopping block to ask that question.
Yeah, it's kind of touch and go for me. I wasn't overly impressed with it. I feel like a lot that happened, a lot that was discussed in this issue was already talked about in the main X-Men book. These same struggles that Nightcrawler's dealing with, I think they did a good job at kind of illustrating that previously. So this was largely a recap of that, just kind of expanding on it and then adding, a little bit more with Pixie and the more about the Crucible, which again we covered in the main series too. So I don't know. There wasn't a whole lot for me personally to grab onto. I'm gonna try it. Try another issue and see if it if it grabs me more. And I want to like this because I love these characters. I love Blink from Age of Apocalypse. Pixie is kind of winning me over, and Nightcrawler, of course. So I don't know. I'm kind of torn about it.
I thought it was an okay issue. It was an okay premiere. My issue is I don't know if it gave me enough to say I need that second issue. And I mean, I will try the second issue, but how long will I stick with this series? Like, is it a big enough premise? The thing I was interested in was the idea that Nightwing is actually questioning Krakoa. He's really the first mutant to do that. He's like, wait, maybe this isn't paradise. So I like that and the potential there, but like the cliffhanger with Legion didn't do much for me. Like, I don't really care about Legion as a character. So I don't know. There's so many X-Men books. I don't know how long I'll stick with it, but it wasn't bad. It's actually one of the better X-Men books in my opinion, just not good enough to stay on my pull list. Because I'm also not a huge Nightcrawler fan. Like, he's a good character, just don't have a fandom attached to him.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot to explore there with the different. I mean, he kind of touched on it with all the different ideologies and religions, and trying to find that commonality, being a mutant also. So I think there's some interesting threads there. I don't know if it's enough to keep my interest unless there's a larger story, and if that larger story is Legion, then again you're playing with Age of Apocalypse stuff. But that writer obviously loves that character, so. I don't know. I didn't love the past series with Legion, so I'm really hesitant about this one, and I didn't love the art either. So,
yeah, no, the art was a little bit too simple for me. Nothing too memorable. But let's get into the next comic, which Brant, you read. If Mike and Chris were here, they'd have a conversation, but they're not, and I didn't read this one. And that is Batman Fortnite 0 Point issue 1. This is definitely anticipated for a lot of people.
I love this book so much. This is as a Fortnite fan and as a Batman fan, I thought this was the perfect marriage of the two. The way that they introduced the Fortnite world made perfect sense. There's like this portal that opens up in the middle of Gotham City, and Harley Quinn's at the center of it and goes in. Batman's trying to stop her. We don't know how many other characters got pulled into this at this point. And then we see somebody swinging in the background that actually kicks Batman through the portal. So we don't know what that means and how that ties into the world of Fortnite. But it's clear that all these people are kind of gathered there, and they lose part of their memories. They know like all their skills and all this stuff, but they can't remember who they are or why they're there. They just know they got to fight to survive. And Batman, being the detective he is, deduces that this storm isn't natural, it's man-made and controlled. Why are we here? Why are we fighting? He recognizes somebody else in the story that's also from Gotham. I don't want to spoil it for anybody that hasn't read it, but there's like this familiarity with these two, and they have to figure out how they survive this, which I thought was brilliant. I thought it was a great introduction to Fortnite for comic fans and to comics for Fortnite fans. So really good.
And the next book is a book that both me and Brant really like, which is Radiant Black issue 3. And this was really good. As I think the writers here, we could definitely relate. And that's something I really liked about Kyle's writing in this book in general, is that he talks about the anxiety of being a writer and what it's like. And it was interesting because how do you make that pleasant to look at? And somehow it was like, him watching cat videos and the blank page and all, as we get to see of what do I do to be a hero. And I really loved it. I thought it was a great issue and something that could have been really boring. Not saying that it was a bad story, but visually it could have been boring to look at, was really expertly crafted in this issue.
I will say this is not in my top 5. It did drop a little bit for me. This was the last book I read. It was my most anticipated, I think, or one of my like 3 most anticipated books this week. So I guess I probably wanted a little bit more progression of the superhero side of the story. But I agree with you that the stuff about, looking into the perspective of a writer was brilliant, and it was brilliantly handled. And I felt myself in that book so much. And I was just like, there were times I was as down as he was as I was reading. I'm like, because I'm connecting so well to it. And other times I'm like, okay, yeah, when he's starting to rise above it, it's like, yeah, that rush you get when you finally, get going. And it's just, yeah, he was talking to all writers out there. He was talking through us. So, I mean, it was, really good in that respect, for sure.
I agree. So now we are going to get into our number 5. So, Brant, what was your number 5?
My number 5 was a book we already talked about. It was my Under the Radar Stray Dogs.
And mine was Captain Marvel, issue 28. We did not discuss that yet. This has been a fun arc. I like the awkwardness between Doctor Strange and Captain Marvel. I love Jessica here. It's Kelly Thompson at her best with the jokes. And what I like, though, is like it's exploring such a different side of Carol. Like why she wants to dig into magic, the way she digs into magic, and then the cliffhanger even connecting to that last arc really well. I like it. I've been enjoying this arc thus far.
Yeah, for sure. This was such a fun issue. The friendship with Carol and Jess is just it's brilliant. I love their relationship, and I love how it's handled in this issue. And obviously Jess is completely inappropriate with how the timing of this conversation as they're right there in front of Doctor Strange trying to discuss what happened and all that stuff, and then leaving her. It's just like, I'm sorry, I gotta go. It was like, don't you dare leave me. Oh man, it was so brilliant. And just the complication of Doctor Strange and Captain Marvel's relationship was very subtle, but at the same time very on point in this issue, and dealing with that overarching thing of her trying to learn magic and being turned down at every avenue. I really liked the way that was handled, and like you said, leading into that cliffhanger that tied into the arc with Ove and all that was just it made me like that arc a little bit better. The way that it was tied into here. So
me too, honestly. I like the aftermath of that arc more than I like the arc itself. Like right. I'm enjoying the consequences a lot.
Yeah.
So moving on to some more big books, just like issue 60. So I actually read this like 2 months ago. So since I've read it. But from what I can remember, it had a lot to do with Hippolyta joining the team, not liking Black Adam. That's kind of it.
Yeah, it's more about Brutus like trying to figure out how to deal with that, and Black Adam confronting Naomi. If you just trying to refresh your memory, and trying to get him and Superman trying to get answers from Naomi about her world and this villain and all that, and then Hippolyta coming in, and like you said, that was very brief, that part of it. And then the backup story with Justice League Dark, I didn't even read.
Yeah, I didn't read that either. Although it's gonna cross over at some point. I think this summer.
Yeah, I'm not excited.
We'll talk about it during the chopping block.
Yeah, this issue, I don't even know how to feel about this issue. I didn't love it. A lot of the dialogue was very stilted for me in this one. There was a lot of, especially like conversations with Naomi and with Green Arrow, I thought were just odd.
Just like boring.
It was boring, but it was also odd. Like a lot of self-questioning moments here. Like Superman saying, "Green Arrow, you have changed." I have? Really?
Like who does that?
Yeah. Exactly, and then Naomi kept popping in with like, "Who?" or "What's that?" or "Really?" and that kind of. It was just, I don't know. It was so, I don't know, choppy for me. Trying to read through that, and so, not cheesy, but kind of mushy, I guess is the right word for it. I don't know. It's just
It's so hard to review this comic because the art is so good.
Yeah.
So it's like,
really
but
good.
if it didn't have the art, like the writing would not elevate the book.
Yeah, and I also want to love this book. I mean, it's Justice League, right? And
Green Arrow, they had such a good roster too. Like I like a lot of these characters.
Yeah, and Naomi, we both love that series, so I really want to like her here. And I think it's really interesting bringing in Hippolyta and Black Adam to this to this dynamic, and I want to love it, and I don't. So
Serenity said, I liked it. Like does not mean love.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Serenity does agree with us on Justice League.
Yeah.
All right. Well, moving on to the Mighty Valkyries issue 1. We've been waiting for this one for a while, and I enjoyed it. I have to say, I mean, this is not a surprise, but I like the Jane Foster story a lot more than the other Valkyrie, which we know her name now, Rena, I believe, right? It was Rena?
Runa.
Yeah, Runa. And I didn't like her story as much. It was a different artist. It felt very separate. But the Jane stuff, I love her just getting back to basics and seeing her as a doctor, seeing her up against Loki. I kind of like the other plot going on. I don't know if I'm fully invested in this baby thing going on, but I love the art, and I definitely like this more than I like the King in Black stuff.
Yeah, I didn't really understand the baby thing. I didn't quite follow what was going on there, except for the two of them are a wolf. But weren't there 3? So I'm confused. I thought
there was definitely 3. There was definitely 3. So maybe that's part of the story.
Yeah, and then what's her name? Hela's wife hiding.
I don't know her name either, but that's the thing. Like that, it felt a little out of place because it was so separate from Jane's story.
Yeah. But I mean, gorgeous art all through the book. We can agree. Well, especially that main story, we can agree. Yeah, I like seeing Jane back to basics. The fun inside stuff with her and Doctor Strange, and kind of skirting around her boss and all that stuff. It was fun, and going to the bars and trying to get all the information, and then calling Loki on his crap, and as usual, it was a fun issue. The stuff with Runa, I thought there was a really nice lead-in from Jane, talking about, hope she comes back, hope she's finding what she needs, and then kind of lead into that story. I thought that was nice, and I thought it was an interesting twist at the end with how she got her name and how that character ties into her. But yeah, it was a little like I just want to move past that and get her into the main flow of the story. But yeah, it was fine. I didn't love it, but I'm glad we're getting a Jane-centric story back. So.
For sure. Next up is Power Rangers issue 6. This was definitely an interesting issue. I like learning more about the princess character because I don't know much about her, and I think the story's done a good job at like fleshing her out and relating it to the other Rangers. I'm not as big of a fan as this arc because it's or this series, just because I'm not a big space fan, but I still like it. I think it's a good book. I just like Mighty a little bit more.
Yeah, I think the gold of this issue was the stuff with the Princess of Evil and Jason, and how they, reluctantly connected to each other. And I'm curious to see where that goes from here, just as far as learning each other's side of history, because obviously there's something that happened with Power Rangers negatively to her, but obviously they're not bad people, Jason and Trini and Zach. So it's like there's that conflict and confusion, and I'm sure they're going to explore that at some point. So that's going to be fun.
Yeah, for sure. I'm definitely interested to see the character work going from there. So we're going to move on to number 4. I'll go quick because we already talked about mine. So that was Spider-Woman issue 11.
Yeah, we already talked about mine too, which was Captain Marvel.
Oh, nice. Which go hand in hand in that regard.
Yeah.
So moving on, I'm going to start with The Amazing Spider-Man issue 64. Yeah. I really hated this issue up until the end. So I know me and Brand have a completely different opinion on that, but I just was bored out of my brains.
I don't get that. And Mike said the same thing. Full disclosure, I don't get that because I was having fun through the whole thing until the end. It was like, oh, Dr. Octopus.
The end felt like something was happening. Because I was like, oh, that, like I didn't expect that to happen. I didn't know Dr. Octopus was coming. Like all the other stuff, there's like 20 different stories going on, and nothing gets progressed. They're like, okay, here's Spider-Man. Here's Boomerang. It's just like, oh my God, slow down. But again, nothing gets accomplished. It's just a lot thrown at you.
I guess I would have rather that than the whole thing being about, Robbie and Tombstone. It's I don't know. I appreciated the pace of it for whatever reason, I was in the mood
Spider-Man wasn't even in the book.
I know.
He's not even a main character of his own book.
I know. He was in there briefly, very briefly, very briefly.
The Amazing Spider-Man.
But I mean, I still love seeing the supporting cast back, and there's an interesting thread with Boomerang going on, kind of going off on his own and that kind of thing. I don't know. I like that part of Nick Spencer's run the best, so I'm enjoying it while I have it.
While it lasts, which I don't think it's going to be much longer. So we got a lot of other stuff coming up. But let's move on to Nightwing, issue 79. So good. I love this book. It's only issue 2, and I think it's like my favorite book on stands right now, next to Runaways. It's so freaking good. And it's so like poetic and thematic, especially with like the heart of Gotham and what do you do with billions of dollars that Bruce Wayne didn't do, and like the character interactions between Barbara and Nightwing, freaking Bat family group chat. There's so much to love in this book. The artwork, so good.
Yeah. Most of it is absolutely perfect. I love it. I have one problem with it, which I know it brought it down a little bit for me. I didn't like I think it was handled very similarly in another Nightwing story not too long ago. If I'm not mistaken, it was Nightwing that it happened in. It might have been another character, but the way that he decided to help the homeless people, I just, there was something about that bothered me, and it brought me back to that other story where it was a woman and her child that were fired from their company, and I don't know if you remember this.
I don't even know if I read it, honestly.
Yeah, it might have been in that anniversary anthology or something like that. I don't remember. Somebody can refresh my memory, and I may be misremembering. It might not have been Nightwing, but it seems like there was like this whole apartment complex that he put this family up in, and it just, I don't know. There's something about that, and I'm saying this as a straight white male, so forgive me if it's guilt or whatever. But I
think I know where you're coming from.
The great white hope kind of thing, yeah.
Yeah, I definitely understand where you're coming from, because it's like, what gives him the right? Yeah, I definitely understand that, and I actually also agree with it. I don't know if it bothered me in the story, because then there's the idea of Bruce Wayne, like, what did he ever do with his millions? Like, right. Or his billions. Like there's also that question. Could you be a better hero by putting money into, a better place? So I don't know. I think it's a hard ethical question, honestly, but I'm hoping it will be touched upon in future stories, because I think there is a big notion of that. Like, can that be touched upon? Is he the right person, or the way he's done it to do this? Yeah.
And I agree. The sentiment behind it is so good, and it's it's something a lot of people that come into wealth do. They want to give back, and I understand that completely. And it was also a plot device to get us to this heartless person and lead him to all these kids that are living by themselves, and so it was to progress that plot forward. So I get it, both from an ethical and a writing perspective, but just something about it, and it was probably because that other story was not written as well and not handled as well, that just kind of left a bad taste in my mouth for that particular element of it. It was the only thing I didn't like, though. The rest of it was phenomenal.
That's a good point, though.
Yeah.
Moving on to number 3, I believe we're up to, and mine was actually the Mighty Valkyries, so that was my number 3.
Mine was actually Nightwing, so we just talked about it. Yeah.
All right, moving on to The Flash, issue 769. I actually forgot this existed this week because it's that forgettable. Yeah, I just this was not a great issue for me. I think this is actually my lowest issue of the week. I just felt like it was too fun. I felt like nothing really happened in it. It was very adventure-y, and I didn't quite like it. And I also didn't love the artwork.
Yeah, I actually liked it a little bit better than last issue, I think. Just because
I liked last issue more because they had more plot in it.
I think I liked the comical side of Gold Beetle here. That was really it. I'm not loving this series so far, this run on the series. So I don't know. I wasn't impressed with last issue either.
I'm waiting for July because July looks like it's going to go to status quo of like, oh, he's going to have his family and stuff. If that doesn't impress me, then I'll probably drop it. But I do want to see it through enough for this book.
Yeah, I mean, I love The Flash and I love Wally, so again, it's one of those books that I want to love. I'm going to keep trying because, I just want to love this book. And, it was the same in the last run. I would pick it up, drop it, pick it up, drop it. And it's probably going to be the same for this until, it settles into a place where I'm enjoying it, hopefully.
Radio Vid says, I personally enjoyed all of Gold Beetle. I think it's hard because I don't like Booster Gold. So I think, obviously it's playing off of Blue Beetle and Booster Gold. And I'm just like, she was a little bit too much for me. She was just like a little too excited.
Yeah, I like that, I guess. I don't know. Different opinions on that. Yeah.
Different strokes for different folks.
Yeah.
So Catwoman, you're reading Catwoman.
Yeah, and I'll keep it brief. I really think this arc in particular is really good. In this issue, like she saved Riddler from dying, and she's trying to get answers out of him because somebody has taken Poison Ivy, and they're using her genes to create this super drug. And, that's obviously what's bringing Catwoman into this, but she's also battling with this. She's struggling with the fact that she feels like she's being more like Batman and she doesn't see herself as a hero and she doesn't like being in that world, yet she's being a hero because she's got to save her friend now. And at the same time, keeping these drugs off the street. So I think it's a really powerful arc for this book. And I feel like I've been missing something by not reading it, either that or it's just gotten really good recently.
So next is our number 2s, and mine I already talked about, Radiant Black. I really enjoyed that one.
Yeah, mine we already talked about as well, which was Batman Fortnite. Okay,
so next we are going into, I'm surprised we both read this, Girls of Dimension 13, issue 1. I read it out of a whim because I'm like, okay, it kind of looks interesting. I haven't read an Aftershock book in a while, so I was like, okay, let me pick it up. And it was so generic. I really didn't like it.
Yeah, I didn't hate it. It's just there's so many other books that I know I won't continue with it. It'll be like one of those, oh yeah, I agree with you. It was kind of generic. So yeah, it was fine though. It wasn't terrible.
It wasn't bad, but there was just nothing that stood out. It just felt like anything else.
Yeah, the way that they came together was kind of generic. Like you said, it was like they were all called to this place, and the way that some of them either didn't know they had powers or weren't admitting they had powers and others did, and everybody was supposed to know and nobody knew, and it was a little confusing at times too, but yeah.
Serenity mentions, I saw it on Twitter, so that's why I read it. They're supposed to be from a previous book or something. Okay, that makes a little bit more sense, because I felt like there's like, okay, what was I thrown into? Like there was no characterization at all.
Okay, so if they were from a different book, yeah, we're obviously missing a piece of the puzzle here, so...
Okay, I feel a little better, honestly, because before I'm like, what was this introduction?
Yeah.
All right, well, that is our big book, so we're going to go into our number 1, and mine actually was Nightwing.
Well, mine was actually Spider-Woman, so there you go.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Spider-Man. I was like, get out.
No. I didn't love it that much. Come on.
Spider-Woman, I can accept. It was a very good book. Spider-Man, not so much.
Right.
Surprisingly, we're already done with our big book. So we're going to go into the chopping block.
Yeah, which there's a lot of books on the chopping block this week. So let's dig in. So what are you chopping? Which I think we already have a kind of a guess towards one of those.
Yeah, so Girls of Dimension 13, which we already talked about, and then Justice League. I started to talk about it before. I know some of the stuff that's coming up because, it's just in an interview that I did. So I was like, that doesn't interest me as much. And Justice League Dark crossover doesn't interest me enough. And I love Naomi. But I think I'm just going to wait for season 2 because I love Black Canary. I want to see more of her, but I don't like this book. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to give it one more. It's a half chop for me on this one too. I want to love this book. It's like Avengers, Justice League and Avengers. I want to read those books, and both of them have been letting me down. And this one if this issue is any indication of what's going forward, I'm probably going to be dropping it soon.
I have a feeling it is.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and Girls of Dimension 13 is another one that's, I'm letting that one go. I have, I forgot to X that one, but there's another, I think it was from Boom, The Many Deaths of Layla Starr. I didn't love the storytelling in that book, so that one's gone for me. And Champions and Way of X both get a half chop for me. We talked about Way of X already. Champions is a book that it's another one. I keep saying this over and over again tonight, I guess, but it's a book I want to love. I love all these characters individually. I love, Miss Marvel and Nova and Miles. And
it should be a great book.
It should be. Yeah. And did you read this issue this time?
I didn't read this one, but I know what it was about. It was like the Roxxon app and all that fun jazz.
Yeah, and it's just, I don't know. I don't like that this arc won't die, even though we get new creative teams, new arcs, new team members, and it's the same story. And I'm getting bored of it, and I don't like the way that they're handling it. And Ironheart is so angry in this issue, and she hates Viv now, and
that was like one of my favorite parts of Champions was their relationship. So that sucks.
Yeah. So I'm just not loving the direction of it, but I feel like I want to. I want to love these characters so much that I'm going to give it another try. Maybe.
I just want to honestly see solo books from all of them at this point. I think that's the better place to be. Yeah,
but we're not going to get them. I mean, at least some of them, right? I mean, yeah. So. Except for Miles and his Clone Saga.
Yeah, we'll be discussing that next week. That's coming, which we'll talk about in our most anticipated, which I think we're up to, right?
Yeah.
You also had Way of X you wanted to half chop.
No, I mean, we already talked about that, though, and I kind of gave my reasons, so we don't really have to rehash that one. But, yeah. So we can go into most anticipated, which I culled this one quite a bit since it was just going to be the two of us. But yeah, we do have some most anticipated books that we both marked every single one of these books on this list. So that's cool.
So interesting. But honestly, like what's interesting about me and Brant is that we have very similar tastes, but sometimes there's this thing where we'll be on completely opposite sides, but we do have very similar tastes.
Yeah, and we'll probably have similar thoughts about some of these books next week. I can see it already. Just looking at them, how it's going to line up for both of us. But we already mentioned Miles Morales, so let's talk about that. Issue 25, Clone Saga. Are you looking forward to it, or are you just kind of wanting to see what happens?
I am only picking this up because Mike said, you should pick this up, Kat. And I really wasn't getting that many books, so I was like, fine. It's not because I want to. I held on to this series longer than anybody else on this show, I think. But I even dropped it at some point. And so I'm going to pick this one up too because I want to see what happens with it. So, we'll see what we think next week. One that we are looking forward to is Black Widow, number 6. We'll go with that one. I hope that's my number one pick because I'm so excited for Black Widow to come back because it's been 2 months since we had the last issue because I had a little bit of a break. I love the new costume. I'm just so excited.
Oh, man. This book is one of those books that I just love. And this is the best Black Widow that I've read, I think.
Ever. Right, me too. Yeah, I've never, nothing's come close to this Black Widow.
No. So I'm that's like top of my pile. Got to read that, right away kind of book for me. So, yeah. Teen Titans Academy, we kind of talked about earlier a little bit.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah. Tentative about this. It's another one I want to be good. And, these are characters that I want to love. So, we got that crossover coming up with Suicide Squad, which is another book that I'm kind of on the fence about. So this is
like Suicide Squad a little bit more in Teen Titans Academy right now, which is so weird because I really don't like either of them that much.
Yeah, it's I don't know. The next few issues of both of these are going to be make it or break it for me. So we'll see.
Me too, because honestly, I don't think I need to know who Red X is that badly.
We'll find out before it comes out anyway, right? It'll get spoiled somewhere.
Oh, for sure.
Or you'll find out in some article that you're right.
I was like, wait, that's a red
Yeah.
accent.
And you'll be like, I can't tell you, but you're not going to love it or whatever, So sticking with DC, we got Robin, #1. I am excited about this one.
I am so excited for Robin. Just everything that, like, from what I'm hearing about the book, sounds up my alley, and right next to Black Widow. If Robin or Black Widow makes my #1 next week, I'll be very happy. Yeah, I'm super excited for this. I really like the backups. I like what I'm hearing about the book. Ravager's going to be in the book, so I'm excited.
Yeah. The way he jumped off that plane was like that decision, like made my decision of whether I was gonna, pick up this book. So yeah. And let's see, we got Detective Comics 1035. It's crazy.
Another one that I don't mind being my #1. I really like that last issue, and I'm really excited to see where this mystery is gonna go.
Yeah, for sure. It's This is the one I'm trying to remember which. I'm getting Batman and Detective.
This is where he's now living in kind of the neighbors, and then the neighbor dies.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's crazy how that's tying into that corporation or whatever, or the I forget. I'm getting details mixed up, but I do remember the story with the neighbors and the party.
That was definitely the big story. There was some aftermath of the Joker War, and we got to see that. I'm interested to see who all these neighbors are. Like,
yeah, and that woman's husband was down in the tunnels, right?
I think it was her father.
Her father, okay. Yeah, some I know somebody related to one of the neighbors was in the tunnels and had blood all over him or something. It's like, okay, where's that going? So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. And we got 2 more to talk about. We got Silk #2, which that first issue I think I liked a little bit better than you, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I also had read it like a while before, so like I didn't reread it, but I remember when I read it, it was fine. Like, I liked it. I love Silk, but it didn't blow my mind. I was like, okay, it's just a fun story. It didn't even make my top 5, but I hope it gets exciting, like a Spider-Woman exciting. Like, I think there's a big difference of Spider-Woman. You add the big Roger stuff that happens, and with Silk, there was no big moment where it's like, oh man, I gotta get that issue too.
Yeah, I can get that. I mean, I get that, but I enjoyed the Peter Parker comparisons with her in that first issue. So hopefully there'll be something for both of us. And then the last one is a book that we both really enjoyed that first issue, which was Shadecraft issue #2.
Always want to call it Shadowcraft every single time. Yeah, no, I really like that book. It's so hard to grab you in issue 1 of an indie. We've all seen it. It's like, oh, I like that issue, and then you drop off of issue 2. And I mean, this one really grabbed me. I was like, oh, I want to see where this goes. Yeah,
it pulled you into both the characters and the story, which is really hard to do. Like you said, with the issue 1, whether it's indie or not, it's really hard to kind of do both right away. And I think they did a brilliant job with that. And the art, oh my God, the art is so gorgeous. So
we do have a question, or not a question, but a comment from Serenity clearing up that this was not a continuation of something. They were just comparing it to that book. So we are on the nose of it being confusing.
So we're even more confused now that we know that there's not a lead into this stuff. Yeah. Anyway, so that is all of our most anticipated. So I guess it's time to start wrapping up the show already. It's crazy.
That is nuts, guys. It's a short show, even though we had so much to talk about. We went through it very quickly. I think it's also because me and Brant didn't really disagree on too much this week. Things here and there, but I think we understood where each other were coming from, so there wasn't any long conversations about it.
Yeah. Also, two voices compared to 4. It's going to take less time to get through it too. But I agree. It's just we got our thoughts out there, though. I don't think either one of us were shy with words this week.
No, we didn't back down.
No, not at all. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and so let's talk about some stuff coming up and going on and all that jazz. What do you got, Kat?
I had a lot of topic videos come out last week. So I did a video on Spider-Man. I did one on the Justice League Unlimited. I did a Just League Unlimited and all the solicits. So the Marvel solicits and the DC solicits. I did videos on. I don't know if I'll have another video this week after I did all that. But I'll try having at least one topic video. I have one in mind. I guess I'll say it. Doesn't mean I'll do it. But I wanted to do something that me, Brant, and Mike were talking about last week. That where's the Scarlet Witch comic? You know, we had WandaVision that's so popular, and I was going to discuss that in a topic video. So hopefully I do. And then I'll have Best Comics, of course, tomorrow as well to discuss all the books coming out tomorrow/today.
Awesome. Yeah, and for me, let me pop up this there. I have a Kickstarter going on right now for my buddy John Wilson's book Pneumatic Cases issues 1 through 3, which is doing really well. We are $75 away from our 4th stretch goal right now. So yeah, we are actually heading down the track to unlock issue 4 that will add to the campaign if we reach that ultimate goal. So that's really exciting. We've accidentally launched it with 45 days instead of 15. So we have 32 days left to go. Long time to jump on the bandwagon, but there's no time like the present because we are announcing cool stuff as we unlock these. Our next stretch goal is actually a mystery stretch goal. It's something cool that Lisa and I came up with that we're excited to share. So hopefully we'll get to talk about that sometime this week. But yeah, you can check it out at lastnumberpress.com/PC3. It is a steampunk murder mystery Victorian era story. So if that is your jam, go check it out. And that's really all I have.
The puzzle. You got your puzzle.
Oh yeah. You are right. I'm so sorry. That is actually launching next week too.
Oh man. No man,
yeah.
You gotta get that out there.
yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, we let me pull it up actually because we added the other puzzle to it. For our Torchlight Games brand, we are launching our first product, which is going to be a puzzle. And I've got it now, so I'll share screen that real quick. And actually, we were going to do 2 puzzles. We changed it to Wonderland and Neverland because the Neverland puzzle came in yesterday, the art for it. So we got that. So we got both of these puzzles going on. Lisa's taking the charge on this one. And we are going to launch that, I believe, Monday if everything goes according to plan. And so you'll get to get either one or both puzzles or multiple copies of both puzzles. And we do have early birds for like 3 different tiers, I think. And this is going to be a shorter, I take that back. It was going to be a shorter campaign, but we added the puzzle. So we're actually going to do a full 30 days on this one, I think. But yeah, this will launch Monday, May 3rd. So check it out. You can follow it at torchnightgames.com/wonderland, and that will take you right to it. And yeah, so gorgeous art by artist Laurent Rice. So if you go check Laurent out on Instagram, you'll see examples of that art, but you can see it right there. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. I'm getting hoarse from how much I'm talking, but yeah, there you go. Some gorgeous, quirky takes on Neverland and Wonderland there. So hopefully you guys can check that out. This is the first campaign, first product for Torchlight Games that we're really excited about. We're hoping it does well, and we'd love to see you on it. So check that out. Thank you, Kat, for reminding me to do that.
No problem. I was getting the link ready. Is like they gotta check it out. They gotta also hit the notification button so they could get it right at launch.
Yeah, please do. Yeah. All right, and that's it for the show. So I guess it's time to pop up this little banner so you guys can hit that subscribe button over Kat's head there. It's not actually over her head, but you can see the picture of it there. Hit that notification bell too. Yeah, it might be. Give us a thumbs up if you like the video, and check us out on social media at Comic Frontline. And you can check out the audio version of the show airing on Fridays. And give us a review, a 5-star review on iTunes, and we will read those out on the show. I don't have the link for the audio version, but yeah.
Oh, unless which way you're. I got the for the 5-star reviews.
For the iTunes. Yeah, that's the main link. Yeah, and if you go to cbwpodcast.com, that'll take you to our host page for now. I'm actually going to redirect that somewhere else in the future, but yeah, that's where you can find that now. But there are links to all the different platforms: Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, and anywhere else. As Jason Inman said, for your ear holes. So you can check that out. And don't forget to check out Geek History Lesson .com as well for the Geek History Lesson podcast. So, and thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time. We are waving for all our audio listeners.
Bye, guys.